It's live.
Okay. So I'm going to show you two summaries to get a feeling for where you are. So this is our campaign mission brief, okay?
Right.
You're working for King Oleb, is over the main campaign. Your main goal is to disrupt trade across the Trojan Reach through acts of piracy and chaos. And through that will hopefully force the Imperium to recognize the Kingdom of Drinax, which fell 200 years ago. It's not the only goal. Your other goal is to make alliances. How do you say it? Allegiances through the various kingdoms and try and rebuild the Kingdom of Drinax. Make your fortune, so you're going to make a lot of money, but don't forget to kick 10% of your ill-gotten gains back to your patron, King Oleb, because he is gifting the ship.
Yeah, we're a bit overdue on a kickback to Oleb. Yeah. We could do with, now we've got a bit of cash.
I'm going to take 10% off that 359.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
A good 35 grand, isn't it?
Well, that's it, and it shows him we're out doing stuff.
Yes, so that'll just get, I'll just kind of do that. I'll do that for you in a moment. That's your sort of campaign brief of the main campaign. If we look perhaps at the if we think about our mission on Cordan, here's our mission brief. Show it to players. This is what Baroness Lux wanted you to do. Infiltrate the disputed border region of Baron Harry and Ferro.
Yep.
Done. Trigger internal problems between the barons and destabilize the region to weaken their political power. Foment dissent and unrest. I guess there's a bit more could be done with that. Raytar's has some good ideas with that, but you've definitely sabotaged the military assets.
Yeah.
And they want to stop short of facilitating all-out war.
Yeah, because we don't want the Imperium coming down on them.
Because it might create it could have the planet classified as an amber zone, which restricts trade.
Yeah.
And no one wants that because the Baroness wants to continue trade and to capitalize on that unrest.
Hey, we got Scratch, mate.
Hey, up Scratchy, mate.
Sorry.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. We're just doing a little bit of trading.
Bit of housekeeping. You did miss the failed bumbling drug dealers. Right at the start, Dax and Raytar tried to shift a few assets from the coup. We had 6 tons of illegal drugs. And unfortunately, Raytar did a great trade roll, but I rolled snake eyes trying to find us an illegal contact. So we've sold half of them at an all right rate to give us a bit of working cash. But Raytar did more than double our money on the futures for the grain. So we're pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the ship kitty now is, I've taken the 10% for King Oleb.
Yeah.
And your ship kitty now stands at 323. Now, what you could choose to do here now is divvy that out. Is keep some in the ship kitty, obviously to pay for expenses and stuff, and pay the rest out in what you would call a portion, one portion. So what you've done so far is given 2 portions to every crew member and 1 to the NPC crew, but it ends up becoming quite a lot in your hands and not so much in theirs. It depends how you want to divvy that out, whether it's every person 1 portion. I don't know how you want to do that. That's totally up to you.
It's a crew decision. There's no captain input on this. It's whatever the guys see fit. And I'm relatively happy for the NPC crew to get a relatively even share, especially as, Silek fucking saved all our lives last episode.
You've lost Goldtooth, so you'd have to pay him.
That's true. Yeah, we don't need to pay Goldtooth. Silek's earned more than his cash. And as long as Kirsch is staying off the booze, then he gets his share.
Do you want to split the kitty in half then, and then pay the rest out in dividends?
I think that's what we've done before. Yeah, is half in the kitty, half to people. So I think Dax is definitely happy with that. We split that equally, bearing in mind that Raytar might owe Dax 20 grand. Well, I'm not sure. Does he owe Dax 20 grand?
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm happy without money as long as I'm allowed to trade. So I just
Well-
need access to the kitty, you say, right? You call it a kitty.
Yeah, the kitty. And Dax is more than happy for Ratar to be, because we've come back from this ground operation to find that Ratar spent the entire ship's kitty on wheat futures, which Dax is just like, I
Did
don't even
alright.
understand what that is. But then he more than doubles the money on it, at which point I'm like, yeah, you want to play with the cash, boy, you play with the cash.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some wages now, okay, guys.
Oh yes,
So
finally, I'm skint.
there's 161,000 credits in the kitty, and there's 161,000 credits, just a bit more and change, to divvy out between the crew. Now there's 5 player characters and 2 NPCs, so it's divided by 7. So what you've actually got, 161,921 divided by 7. So each of you can take a payday of 23,132 credits. So let me put that on. So
23,132.
23.
Pop out doesn't seem to work. Is it working for anyone else? PC pop out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's working for me, mate.
Yeah, working for me.
Works for me.
I want to make it log in.
Finances
Except I popped out my character sheet and then closed it, which isn't good. Right.
plus 51.
Looks like I might not have been properly logged in.
74, 831, 832. So it's given Zim. Kirsch has got finances.
Ooh, I've done my
23.
Where do we put that? Is that just in finances and then cash in hand? Is that
Cash
what
in
you
hand,
said?
yeah.
What was the number?
23.
Yeah.
132.
132. Thank you.
So I'd like to put 3132, and I'd like 20,000 to return to Dax. Because even though I'm not Lannister, but you know, they always say Cavalians always pay their debts.
I think that was in the kitty, actually. Did he give you that from the kitty, or did you?
No, it had to be
give
cash
you
on
that?
hand because it was when we were on
Cash
the
on hand,
planet's
didn't it? Yeah.
surface.
Yeah. Okay. Select inventory, finances.
So you're saying I'm getting an extra 20k from Ratar?
Yeah.
Nice. So Dax is just over 60k cash on hand again, which
Yeah. I'm
It's
at
not a-
borrowed to do some operations. Get ready.
see this is perfect because the debt's paid off, which Dax is happy about, but a lot of that money was made by Ratar. You know, we wouldn't have capitalized financially on it.
Well,
But
you
also,
paid your debts. You paid your debts. It's important.
yeah, but it was a good payday, was what we just did, selling a bit of our ill-gotten gains, and
Do you
we've
want to
got
tell?
a few
Do you want
more
to tell
things.
Scratch what you just did?
Yeah, so I think as a summary for everybody, we did a couple of things. We got 6 tons of illegal drugs, and we sold half of them because we didn't get a very good price, because Dax didn't find a particularly good contact, but Ratar managed to argue him to a half decent place. So we sold 3 tons of that for cash on hand for 240 grand, and then we got 115,000 from trading the wheat futures, so 65k profit on them. What we were talking about before you logged on, Dan, was we've now got the Coup, which is a really hot ship. It's wanted in Cordan for the stuff around the high port breaking out. We've done some piracy in it. We've also got the Goddess Astoria, which is a stolen ship, and it's like a noble's luxury yacht. So that is going to start getting very hot very soon when it's discovered missing. And we've got Bilham's scout ship, which has got a bigger trading hold. Oh, that's a pretty ship.
That is cool.
So we were talking about having 2 vessels on the go at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The Coup running all the pirate and illegal operations, and basically, if the Coup is associated with piracy, that's great. we grow the legend of the coup de grace and make it feared throughout space because it's got the stealth technology and we can sort of hit and run with it. But on the other hand, we could set up a totally legitimate or legitimate looking trading operation that Ratar heads up, that we use to fence our stolen goods as well as trade in legal goods. So we're making money from two avenues. And if it gets too hot with the law, we park the piracy for a little bit and we focus on the trading. And when things are good, we do a bit of both at the same time. So I think we need a second ship. And what Dax was going to do was put it to the crew.
Or a third ship.
Well, this is the other option. So, you know, if we knew somebody who had some other kind of ship, you know, all these things would be really useful. Now, the one problem I foresee, and Mike brought it up, is the Goddess Astoria is a luxury yacht. It hasn't got much cargo space. So as a trading ship, it's not that useful. It's also potentially quite hot, but it's probably worth a mint. So with Ratar's help, we might be able to trade that in before it got too hot from the relatively recent piracy and theft, and use the proceeds to either sort of bankroll the legitimate trading side of our operation using Bill's ship, or buy a whole another ship that is specifically set up for trading. So something with a great big cargo hold where we can trade in volume. And I think Ratar sort of heads up that legal side. We've got two pretty decent pilots in Bill and Dax, so we can fly two ships and use two ships, and we could potentially hit things with the coup, steal stuff, cloak out, and then meet up with the other ship, exchange the goods so that and then, you know, get them onto the market before they become too hot. We've got a few avenues. But while Bill and Scratch are healing up from that combat in the auto dock, Dax just wants to sort of kick back with the whole crew and talk about what options we think would work for us.
And the Scout Courier, the Type S that's on here.
Yeah.
Is that one of our options, or that's too small?
It's one of your options. It's a 100-ton vessel that Bill is in charge of. He doesn't own it. It's owned by the Scout Service, but he's a detached scout who has got a little bit of a job to do in terms of monitoring, taking some measurements of gas giants. But at any time, he could be asked to do some work.
Because I just want to say, I would be beyond happy if that was one of our ships, because I think it's one of my favorite looking ships.
It's called the New Dawn, and it's like Bill and
it's so elite dangerous.
Exactly that. It makes me think of Elite Dangerous and doing my kicking back and going off and exploring. That I want that to be our ship.
It's not very big. It's not very big.
Is it like a 20-ton cargo hold, something like that?
12 tons.
12 tons.
Actually, it's quite small. Right?
Yeah, quite small.
Can we retrofit it to strip out any of the systems and things? I mean, I know we can't mess around with it too much, because if Bill sends it back and he's lightened it, put sports suspension on it, and been taking it around the Nürburgring, they get really annoyed with you.
I'd like to remind us, since we're speaking of ships, in theory, I also own a quarter of a quite expensive ship, isn't it, Mike? How much is the ship worth?
Yes, so you've got a quarter share of a free trader.
Yeah.
Which is a 200-ton trading ship.
Yeah. So, but
it's got a cargo of 81, but it's on the high port.
Now that in itself, not a problem. We've boosted ships in the high port before. Now, there's also, I seem to remember from the very first Ratar adventure, a little bit of a realization that Ratar had, that if he's been set up, chances are it was one of the other three members of the syndicate that owned that ship. If they're all part owners in that ship and they've all got quarter shares, what happens to the ship shares if one of them disappears?
The money goes into an account, or unless that account was nominated criminal, in which case the state would take that quarter share.
I'm just thinking, if we got Ratar's revenge,
that's the whole scenario. Ratar's revenge. You're right in the next scenario.
You know I am. We could identify who it was. We could forge a little bit of stuff and get things in Raytar's name, and we could work him towards full ownership of that ship. But that's perhaps a long-term goal. I'm just getting excited at the prospect.
It sounds a great idea. That you'd have to get back onto the You'd have to get back onto the high port, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Try and find out who basically set him up.
Yeah.
Steal the ship. Do you steal the ship, or what?
No, I think
about doing.
We need to make sure that whatever we've got is legal, because the idea is that the trading half of our business operation has to look absolutely legit.
Yeah.
You know, we need legal transponders, everything else, so that we can fly in and out. The real advantage of it is we can escort the ship with the coup cloaked, so that in the case of other pirates or Aslan or anything bad,
oh, that's cool.
The ship can trade in quite dangerous space in shipping lanes that other people wouldn't use. But when we get sort of within range of the high port, the coup can just peel off cloaked and leave it to come in as a legitimate trader. So we need that ship to be cleaner than clean.
You could do with the money, couldn't you?
That's sort of what I was thinking. Is we could do with some cash, like big cash, possibly from the Goddess Astoria, possibly from some other trading, to legitimately buy something like a free trader with it. What's the sort of cargo capacity on a free trader?
81 tons.
Yeah.
See, 81 tons lets us trade in bulk. That lets us do good size deals.
Can Raytar mention something? When Raytar was a young student in his broker school, he learned something about finance, and the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb is that what's available to everyone is not profitable. So what you're talking about is not trading has a spectrum of activities, right? So what you're referring to is almost like a hauling. So where you speak about the cargo capacity, if we're talking about the legal side of the operations, that's where, it's basically a hauling. And hauling is a old and non-unique type of economic activity, which by definition of how economy should be based is not very profitable, at least in short term. Like war situation and naturally, and I'm not like saying that, we have to repeat those. I'm saying that those unique situations, like in real life, that's where you can, in theory, make quick money. And it's almost never with real goods. It's always with something paperish. So
the thing is, what they're talking about selling is the things they steal.
Yes. That was the point. Is as far as I heard, there is not much tonnage of what you've stolen, unless you plan to steal from ships of the size of a free trader. Like that's the point. The free trader size ship to actually.
Well, that's the kind of thing that we have done and would do again. We have pirated vessels and not taken everything because we didn't have room for it.
That's very different then.
And the other thing is, I suspect that in the context of traveler, there probably is a little bit more profit to be had in hauling, because there's no faster than light travel. Availability of resource in different systems does vary quite a lot, depending on what the local sort of
local
agriculture and economy is.
Yeah.
I
thought what I would like to do, guys, is sorry to interrupt, and actually I probably shouldn't interrupt. Is there anything else you want to chit chat there? I thought I'd do a little bit of library data.
I think it's always good to start with library data. Let's get our juices going.
Just a little bit. But then I think what I would like to do is talk about what you want to do next on Cordan. Now that you've got the jet grav carrier. Obviously last week let's just do a quick review of what we did last week.
Not shot.
You took out the command post, didn't you?
Yep.
And liberated that grav vehicle, which with its electrostatic armor and a rotary autocannon. You took out the 2 troopers and the commander. The sniper was a threat, and Silex Squirrel suited in and took it out.
Amazing.
Yeah, Bill and Scratch were injured, and I've worked it out that it's going to take you about 3 days to heal up, 3 or 4 days to heal up. And during that time, you weren't keen on getting into any further escapades. So that does leave a window of 3 or 4 days that Ratar and Dax could be doing other stuff if you wanted to do any other stuff. But if you don't, then that's totally cool as well.
The only other small thing we talked about was we worked out, while Ratar and I were just doing some of the housekeeping at the start of the episode, we worked out that there's enough room in the coup to fit the old air raft and the new grab vehicle until we trade in the old air raft. If we find that that's beneficial, but there is enough room. There isn't enough room for that military vehicle, that big sort of ATV that we drove up to the outpost in. But we were talking about going
Is there
back.
enough room for that vehicle and the new grab, and we just ditched our old?
No, I don't think so.
The truck takes up 20 tons of space,
which is more than half our cargo hold. But what we did talk about was potentially going back to the woods where we put the tarp over the wrecked gun, dragging the wrecked gun into the back of that vehicle. So given a bit of time and ingenuity, we could work out a way of getting that robot back into the vehicle. And then we could potentially drive that vehicle. We'd have to be careful, it's a stolen military vehicle, but there's a lot of activity at the borders. We could maybe drive that vehicle under sort of stealthed cover of the coup back to Baroness Lux's place, because if she's going to give us that mansion potentially, we've got a vehicle then at home base as well.
Okay, so
that is what's the guy called who's up in the north?
Halley.
Baron Halley.
So that's one of Baron Halley's military vehicles.
Yeah, you've got two of his vehicles. You've got the grav carrier and the truck.
But it means driving that into
Pharaoh
hostile, into hostile territory, right?
Is it marked up with Halley symbols? Because I know that
it's just a civilian nondescript thing.
And when they were talking about the asset, there was a bit of surprise. It sounded to me that Mike was suggesting that with his underground gun installations, this laser weapon and some of the other military assets he's got, people are perhaps not expecting him to be so technologically advanced, like he might have some new friends. So maybe they're not looking for all of, it's not like all of Halley's troops are in these types of vehicles. I mean, it'd be worth, Mike, if we got any idea, like, I don't know, with a recon roll or something, how from where we are, how easy it would be to sort of take the back roads back to Baroness Lux with this vehicle. Is it going to be more hassle than it's worth, basically?
Well, let me pull you onto a
because if we could flog that's a high-tech military spec vehicle that could give us even more potential bankroll capital.
I'm sorry, I just realized something. There was a photo of Scout and Courier, which Scratch said that he likes. Can I just quickly ask what's the sort of price of this if we were to buy something like that?
If you were to buy that vehicle, that ship,
30-40 million.
I think it's about 30-40 million.
Yeah, I think the 200 tonners are about 40 mil, something like that.
Yeah, Scout Courier, price 36 million.
Yeah.
I need to kind of raise up those profits to buy a ship.
in Dax's head, he's sort of thinking, we've got the old air raft, we've potentially got this military vehicle, we've got the wreck of this robot that's quite high tech, and they're all beyond the tech level of this world. If we can find a way to sell these, like if we can just bump up that ship's kitty and that bankroll, and then chuck everything into a few good trading opportunities, if we could double like 600k instead of doubling 50 grand, we could really be working on slowly making profits towards buying a legal ship again.
No, you see the map there, the planet map.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So down there near the equator, that's Baroness Lux's territory. And over there, that's where you are.
Pharaoh and Halley. So we're not going to drive this truck down to Baroness Lux.
You're not going to drive that truck. No. I guess you could do it in stages. I guess you could get it on the Harrier, take it over, unload everything from the Harrier. We could sort of say that happens in downtime. I'm going to let you keep the truck because it's a nice, sexy truck.
Yeah, and like I say, we could fly the coup to Lux's place, unload the stuff we've got at the moment, fly back, pick up the truck with the laser gun in it, bring it back, and then we've got it all at Baroness Lux's place.
Yeah, what you're going to need the situation to be settled.
Yeah,
for that to happen, and we can say at the end of our time on Cordan, we'll just kind of like let sweet talk that through. Okay, I'm just going to give you a little bit of quick library data. Don't want to sort of spend too long. So we'll talk about the anomalies and wonders in the Trojan Reach and in the traveling universe.
Always the best bits.
Yeah, we have mentioned already the artificial singularity, the artificial black hole, which is in the top northeast of the map of the Trojan Reach, is within Imperial space. We've also mentioned the ghost ship, the Eliza Daniken.
Oh, I love that story.
It's the Imperial ghost ship, the Imperial ship that either was possessed or became sentient, something sort of happened. 200 years ago, that ship. We've also talked about the Thalassan Sargasso, this great big vast neural net where people can bathe within it and their conscious thoughts are absorbed and people can learn new skills and make new scientific connections, but that this new connection fades over time. So it's a vast neural net life form that covers the whole planet. People bathe within it and they have a psychedelic kind of experience, and it feels like their consciousness expands across the whole planet, and they suddenly make vast, incredible mathematical or scientific breakthroughs.
Like 3XP.
Like what? Like 3XP, yeah. Like 3XP. The only problem is the Thalassan people are very restrictive of who may do that. They're quite sort of guarded about who might do that. I'd like to just mention one of the real great wonders of chartered space, the Great Rift. So there's a map there, and you can you see that map, the Great, and it's black and white or grey and white, and you'll see on the left there's this grey shape that looks like a claw.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is an area of reduced stellar density that in some parts is 32 parsecs across at its narrowest, and at its widest it's about 45 to 50 parsecs across, couple of subsectors, and it basically forms this natural barrier between the Imperium and the Aslan Hierate and the Zordani Consulate. If you lived in the Imperium, you would talk about everything being off the left of the map as being behind the claw. And if you lived in the Trojan Reach or the Spinward Marches, you talk about everything being to the right of the Imperium as being under the claw. So it's a sort of natural barrier. What it sort of forms is it forms this natural barrier, and you cannot cross it. It cannot be crossed. It's too wide because it's 32 to 45 parsecs across.
Oh, there's no jumps.
No jump drive.
No jump higher than 6, except there are these isolated island outposts that form a bit of a chain, almost like an archipelago chain. The rift span reaches, okay? And there's some purpose-built stations that allow ships to get across. The actual Great Rift itself is the focus of much speculation and wild tales. Some people say that it's actually the result of an ancient super weapon, and that there were stars there that have all been destroyed. And they say there are ancient spacecraft hidden there within the void. If you misjump in that region, it means certain doom, because you're basically going to emerge in empty space with no stars anywhere, no chance to refill. No one's going to find you. You'll be lost forever. And there are a lot of ships that disappear there. It's an extremely dangerous area to cross. There are spacers talk. There are talk about strange phenomenon, strange objects, and even creatures that lie within there. Now, a lot of this is fancy talk. It sounds like the sort of here be dragons talk of ancient times. But because jump space-time is dependent on the size of gravity wells, here you've got an area of reduced stellar density, and jump space does behave differently out in the Great Rift, and there are all sorts of wild stories about the things that might be encountered there. One interesting thing is the can you see that image there? Yeah, this is the Anandalu. It's an interstellar gas cloud, which in Valani mythology is the place where meritorious souls live. It's a place where those who have lived bad lives, their souls go there in their mythology, and they can't see the progress of life in the future. It's a place where bad ancestors live, hidden from sight. It means bad uncles. Is what it sort of means there.
It's the interstellar nonce-wing.
Yeah, the interstellar nonce-wing. Yeah, Jimmy Savile's there. Now where you are, the borderland subsector, that area is along the edge of the Great Reef, and it's known for some peculiar behavior. It's actually also called the Borderland Reef. And off to the right, you've got this huge big area of the Great Rift, and it has been suggested that this area of chartered space, this Borderland Reef, it's not very dangerous, but it's a little bit dangerous because it's an intermittent thing that interferes with jump drive in some areas, and it can result in a slightly higher. Are you still there, Dax? Oh, I've lost him.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah. It can result in a slightly higher chance of misjump, but it's an intermittent phenomena. It's not happening all the time, and that's because of the proximity to the Great Rift. So this is like what they call the Borderland Reef, which is the area you are. Now, these two next bits, these really creep me out. The Amadi Deep is an area within the Great Rift where travel takes longer than normal. And it might just take a few days. It might take a few weeks. You need extra fuel to cross it. And if you run out of fuel, you don't come out. Lots of ships have disappeared crossing the Imadi Deep. Very, very dangerous area of space to cross. Now the next one, really gives me the willies. Jump space trenches. These are now the science of jump physics. People use jump technology, don't really fully understand it. And it has been observed that there are these areas of jump space where ships seem to go deeper than normal into jump. And there's tales about ships being pulled down deeper into jump space. Now, some scientists dismiss these as being wild travelers' tales, but most people agree that these jump space trenches are best avoided in case there is something down there which humanity is not ready to meet. There's one place called the Fisher Trench, which is quite in the center of it's miles away from you, parsecs away from you. Although these phenomena do seem to move. The Fisher Trench was known for a ship called the Fisher that went into this trench, and in this jump space trench, while in jump space, they encountered a planetoid, and they were able to land on this planetoid, and they encountered something there that came out with them.
Oh, they brought something back.
To me. So these are the kind of legends, some of the kind of legends that abound of jump space trenches, jump space deeps, these areas where it's not a uniform space, it's warped by space time. Now, this one is quite interesting. The Rogue. Now, there's various versions of this tale. Some talk about it being a rogue planet. Some talk about it being a rogue comet, maybe a rogue planet cast out from its system. Some tales say that it's actually an alien ship or some kind of ancient superweapon, maybe even a sublight vessel from a long extinct species, or perhaps some kind of huge creature. And there's different versions of the tales, and every culture's got their own stories. There are tales, you obviously hear tales amongst some of the old spacers, that this rogue is changing course, that it's accelerating towards populated systems.
Oh,
now,
man.
Now, finally, if you were to share a drink with some of these old spacers, or maybe chat to the crews of some of these lonely outer system mining vessels, we'll have a look at that, and belter communities, then the talk inevitably turns to the strange and unusual things they might witness out in the black. And one thing everyone agrees on: the Space Kraken is hungry. The Space Kraken is hungry this year. And that's the Space Kraken is hungry this year.
Man.
So
I want the head of a Space Kraken on the prow of one of our many ships.
I'm going to add that. So that is now in your library data, Anomalies and Wonders.
Amazing.
And you can flick through that and look back on that if ever you sort of need to look at it. So you gradually build in. And if we ever add new Anomalies and Wonders, that's where they'll sort of go. Jump space trenches and jump space deeps.
Guys, I've just got to go and sort out my daughter's hair. She needs a hair drying, so I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, mate. Go for it. Go for it. It's okay. We're just going to chit chat about what's to happen next.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that background though. So just before I go, I just wanted to say thank you. That was awesome. Right, back in a bit.
I kind of wanted to say briefly that although I can't prove that things do or don't exist on the Mike's list in real life, the rock planets, I actually heard about them. I've sent a link. They are pretty real. So the planet, which is detached from the star and is drifting like a comet, but it's actually a planet.
It's real.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's fascinating. Imagine Earth just detached from the sun. I mean, all the other things on Earth would be pretty much of less relevance.
You get these planets that occupy elliptical orbits, and you can get changes in what happens in the system, and this planet can get cast out into interstellar space.
Yeah, they like get slingshot, don't they? They gradually build and then they slingshot, because that's what they think is what happened to. They actually think it could potentially be that's made up the rings and all sorts within our. They think there was another planet
around Saturn,
and it got thrown out and ongoing collided, and then the dust has settled and formed everything else.
Parts,
yeah.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Space is amazing.
Space is amazing. So there's lots of Traveller by and large is hard science game. But there's still lots of things we don't understand.
I've always loved the parallel between Traveller and the Age of Sail. It's really obviously there, that love of, like nothing travels faster than light. So trade between systems, information between ports and locations is all dependent on physical travel. And then you've got these like mysteries and monsters of the deep and unknown things out in space. It's just awesome.
Yeah, the unknown. Who knows what it is? Okay, guys, here we are. We're back at Ellerton. We can drawing tools.
I'm just going to nip to the loop quickly while Mickey's
Yeah,
out.
mate, go for it. Raven. I wonder if we could author Games Master lines. If I can change that text. Update drawing text. Ah, here we go. It was was it Wolf? Was it Wolf that was at the?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was Wolf, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Raven was at the North Tower, and Wolf was at the farm building just there. And you've got your sort of 3 days now for Scratch and Bill M to heal up. And is there anything you'd want to do, Raytar, in that time? Obviously, you mentioned about setting fire to some grain stores, burning some grain silos.
It's not required anymore. This would factor in potentially, in my understanding, into the selling price. Although if we already settled on those,
you could say it happened. We could say it happened.
Well, if price was already given without burning silos, I would rather people to have food. Like I'm not saying I'm playing a good person here, but even in absolutely imaginable world, I'd like people to be happy if I have a choice to.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't want to cause too much suffering, basically.
Let's say even in the imaginary world, we keep food for them if it doesn't affect my profits. But if it does, by 1 credit, those grain silos are gone. 1 credit, and those grain silos backstored in fire. There is something I would like to double check. So, what's the situation with water on this planet?
That's sexy, that t-shirt. A situation with water is that there's plenty of it.
Plenty of it. Okay, I see.
I want that t-shirt. I'm going to buy that t-shirt.
What t-shirt?
Good, isn't it?
Yeah. Dan's just sent me an image of a t-shirt, traveler t-shirt. It says mercenary ticket. I'm going to buy that tonight. I'm going to leave that open.
I thought you'd like that one.
I'm going to get
it's
that
so
tonight,
good, right?
Yeah.
There was one other one. I'm going to send you another one. I'll let you keep talking. There's one other one as well that's just really good.
Go on. Go on, Andy. Go on, Raytar. What's the situation with water? There's plenty of it.
Plenty of water. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the situation with energy on this planet?
It's a decentralized energy system.
Centralized energy system.
So on that northern continent where you are, you've got the region, which is a couple of 100 kilometers across, which is where most of the towns are, trading towns, which are clustered around the starport. And it's because people want to live close to where the exciting things are happening, relatively exciting. Yeah. And then out into the countryside, people make their own way. So a lot of biodiesel. People make their way with a lot of biodiesel. There's a lot of that. Some people who are lucky will have kind of small tech level 9 fusion stills in some communities. I would imagine there's a little bit of solar where they can get it, but biodiesel is probably the main part. Now, the starport, let's take you to the map of Ellerton, I think. Let's take you to the map of the disputed region. That's probably a better one. Mm-hmm. So here we go. So this is where down here, Andy, there is a dam.
Yeah.
And the guys didn't blow the dam, but they blew the turbines.
I see.
Okay, so the dam generates about 60 to 70% of the energy for that region.
Okay.
And that energy supplies the starport and is sold, and it goes off to some of the communities, but some of it is sold to Baron Halley. because it lies within the realm of Baron Pharaoh. So the guys have blown the turbines, and it's going to take, realistically, it's going to take months for those turbines to be replaced because they're not manufactured on world.
Yeah.
It's going to take months. So that is a problem because that's going to reduce the energy to the starport. It's going to reduce the energy to the communities, and it's going to lead to some hardships, isn't it?
Yeah. So another one, I would assume that this planet has plenty of food with plenty of water, and I think it's agricultural.
Can look after itself.
So, okay. What kind of, so you mentioned, I think, tech level 9 or so about the planet?
Yeah, okay, so the Baron, there's two lots of communities, okay? You've got the Barons who have access to tech level 9,
yeah.
which is in advance of where we are today in our planet now. And the people are separate. They're like tech level 6. So I want you to think of like 1950s kind of tech. Some people might use horses or animals power, and there'll be some diesel power. It'll be this kind of stuff that people could make and fix out in the countryside. Probably not much in the way of computer chips and things like that, because if it breaks, you've got to get it, and it's expensive. So people resort to stuff that they can fix.
And if you don't mind, the last quick question. So I would assume that Barons with tech level 9 have to import it on the planet, do they?
The Barons have got some ability to manufacture goods up to tech level 9.
Okay, so they do have manufacturing.
They do, yes, limited. And anything more advanced than that would probably have to be imported. Now, Andy, if you look in your journal and you go down, there's a file there called system data.
Wow. Okay,
and you'll see there one there called Cordan.
Oh, okay. Okay, now it makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Yeah, every world that we go to, I will fill that up, and there's obviously a lot of others there, and you can cross-reference those to the map. If you were to look, there's another file there called Star Charts. Can you see that one?
Oh, nice.
I can. Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you go into Star Charts, that's got all the maps.
Oh, this looks wonderful.
That's what happens. You have had about 18 months between sessions, and you can just
and that traveler map resource exists, and you can just play with it.
Just play with it. Yeah. It's great because you can put different images of it, different contrasts on it as well.
Just a quick FYI, Mike.
Yes, mate.
As long as everyone else is happy with it, I'm quite happy to go to 11.
Okay.
I sort of threw out 10:30 earlier, just mainly for me, just to be like, don't forget, can't be going to bed too late. But I'm fine till 11 because I won't sleep before then anyway.
We'll stop at a realistic point.
But yeah, that's it. Whenever it feels natural, but don't like rush it for 10:30 because I'm good.
Okay. So what do you guys want to do? You've got 3 days where Bill and Scratch are healing up. You could do nothing and just let this situation evolve. There's an evolving situation on the ground, and I mentioned it yesterday about there was fighting in the towns of Ellerton and Tempekirk, and that Baron Halley had said that there were death squads loyal to Baron Pharaoh operating across the border, sabotaging some of his peacekeeping forces, he described them, and that Baron Pharaoh had said, and in response to this, there has been some missiles lobbed over the border. And what I want you to imagine is, like in Palestine, when the Palestinians lob missiles over the border of Israel, it's kind of like that. Some of them are a bit improvised and some of them are a bit less than improvised. But these missiles have been lobbed over the border from Baron Halley's territory into some of these towns of Midyard, Sharpsfell, and Indus. And in response, Pharaoh had moved his troops, and there's been some fighting in the towns of Ellerton and Tempekirk. and there was been some movement of soldiers over towards Midyard and Sharpsfell to defend that region. So the situation was kind of beginning to develop, and that the town hall and the police station in Ellerton had been stormed, and there was a bit from agitators on the ground, and there'd been a number of people had been hung in the streets of Ellerton who were accused of being secret police and spies, because the people of Ellerton associate with Baron Ferro, but Baron Halley's in control, so they're not too happy with that. Is there anything you might want to do in those 3 days, or do you want to wait till everyone's recuperated?
I think we had a bit of trading time, didn't we? Which, Raytar and I spent however long, half a day or whatever, getting rid of some of these goods and setting up the trades and stuff. And we'll have had the conversation as a whole crew about, what we do with possibly the new trading wing and stuff. Dax is quite happy to just sit and watch the situation develop, because I think when we go back to Baroness Lux, I want us all there, especially if there's any potential of us moving in. So I want everyone sort of at full fitness. But also, with one of the objectives here was for this to not turn into all-out war. So I think we need to be sort of monitoring the progress of this in case we need to intervene to diffuse some part of it, so that we get our objective complete. What do you guys think?
I think you're right. Oh, go on, Mickey. Go.
I was just going to say it's interesting, like having a plan for how to diffuse it, because you're right. I mean, this is kind of escalating reasonably quickly. Actually, that's our next potential problem now, isn't it? Is actually how do we calm it down a tad? It's a tough one. I don't have a lot for that other than nukes.
Well, we've got, take off a nuke from orbit.
If there's no one left to argue, they can't argue.
Calm as anything, then.
I take us for a few thousand years, at least.
I take us back to Scratch's point. Scratch made the point that we've got the video footage of Halley's stockpile. If we need it, if it's Halley that's perhaps being the agitator and lobbing the rockets and that kind of thing, if that looks like it's getting out of hand, we could potentially communicate with him, let him know we've got that footage, and perhaps just say, let's just back off a little bit. So we have got that one in our pockets.
Go on, Raytar.
Can I mention briefly? So one thing, we could still sell the old flyer if we want, just as a...
It's a bit battered, but you'll get something for it.
Yeah. So this lake, which apparently, so if it's a lake, it's apparently supplying those towns with water, with drinking water. What if, just, there are rockets flying, we could potentially pollute this lake with some nuclear waste. We could find some nuclear waste. And I'm not saying we can do it in 3 days. I'm just saying that either we can use it as a peacemaking option, because if you pollute an entire lake which supplies the whole region with water, I think they will be pretty much busy with dealing with water instead of war, and we can potentially play a peacekeeping good guys role in there and find ourselves some respect of the local population and maybe even barons. That's one thing, because we can always blame this nuclear waste on their own war. Why would you start a war, right? That's one thing. Another thing,
there aren't any nuclear facilities on the planet.
Could we get nuclear waste from somewhere else, like outside of space?
Our engine? Surely our engine.
It's fusion, isn't it? Doesn't use nuclear, it uses hydrogen. It cracks hydrogen. Doesn't use dirty nuclear fission.
It's not fission,
Okay. So, and another...
Polluting it is definitely achievable, isn't it, though? It doesn't have to be nuclear. It could just be chemical, couldn't it?
We need a big volume for a lake that size. The thing I'm looking at is it's going to really affect Midyard, Sharpsfell and Indus, which are all in Ferro territory, because everything else is upriver.
It's almost like a sea, isn't it? It's like 200 kilometers across.
It is. It's enormous. And if you look, like Iron Hill, Kesslerton, Ellerton, Tempлекirk, Asiacren and Ferro Manor, they're all sort of fed by rivers on their way into the lake.
So that's why I think we don't actually need to pollute the lake itself. We need to pollute like the river streams, which supply towns. And if Mike said that water is somehow available on the planet, if we know about this, river pollution in advance, we could bring and sell them some clean water. Just saying, as an option.
Sparkling spring water.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's definitely got potential in terms of like pollution, and then going in and tidying it up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or sort of being sort of there.
Oh, we could be eco
necessary.
warriors.
Anything else? And how long do you want to? Are you basically waiting to see what happens, or do you want to do anything before anything happens? Do you want to be responsive?
And I think we've sort of achieved our objective here of destabilizing the region.
I think we have to be reactive now, don't we? We
Yeah.
have to see what happens. Because things will happen, but it won't be like a literal instant unless suddenly it completely kicks off. But I feel like that we will see the uprising, we will see the swell. That's maybe then when we have to get in and potentially diffuse or see that where that's going. But I think it's riding this one out, see what happens.
Yeah, I think if we spend a few days of the healing sort of being reactive, being observational, and if we see nothing by the time Scratch and Bill are getting towards healed that instantly requires our attention, I think we go back to the Baroness and try and claim our prize before it does kick off. If the situation is still looking like mission accomplished, we swoop in.
It's certainly kicking off.
Yeah,
but it's not full-blown.
It's not all-out war.
It's more like intifada, uprisings, isolated areas, isolated flashpoints of violence between militia groups and paramilitary forces. Basically, it seems like everyone just wants to give each other a good kicking. And after a week of this tit-for-tat violence, go on, okay, Raytar, go on ahead.
I really apologize. It's not going to affect the gameplay, but Raytar, in his style of play, he would say he paid from his own money 1,000 credits to a couple of informants on the planet. He kind of established a small communication with locals, where it's not going to affect the gameplay, but he just feels like he wants to get information from the ground directly.
Do you want to go into a bar to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. No, do you want
to role play that? We could role play that, or do you want to just kind of like?
I think we need to play with the team, but I think this is a small element where Raytar just wants to get information directly from the locals, and he spent 1,000 credits from his own money to kind of bribe them, like pay them, so they keep on the contact. If that's all right.
We have got the capacity within this evening to go into a bar or to go into the community in these towns. If you tell me where you want to go, it's all set up. It's all good to go to meet the people on the ground, to make some contacts on the ground, or you could just say job done and sit back.
Well,
if you feel you want to do what you want to do.
One other part of our remit with OLEB is to make allegiances, and the big one I saw from Cordan was Baroness Lux. And potentially sort of establishing an allegiance with the Kingdom of Drenax as a first point of sort of helping OLEB in the grand plan. But if through doing some of this on the ground contact, we can potentially make contact with Hallie or Pharaoh as well, we've got some potentially interesting players. So I have no objection to that whatsoever. Dax will happily play very passive bodyguard to Raytar's lead if need be. And depending on when we do it, Scratch and Bill may be pretty healed up. We could just go in as a trading crew.
One of the things this northern region, apart from its agricultural produce, is quite famous for are these great big bison, rhinoceros things called turka. And they're herbivores, they're herd animals that the locals will farm, graze animals that they would sort of butcher, really. So turka farmers or Turka herders are quite well known.
Scruffy looking
Turka herders.
Yes.
Yeah. Now you've also got the Cordan. I'm going to tell you as well another little bit. The Cordan horse. Now we could call it a horse. It's would we call it a horse? Hard to really say. You might call it a horse. The Cordan horse is a almost prehistoric looking thing.
Looks like an undead.
It looks like a zombie horse. Yeah, it's got like it's kind of got like dinosaur like ridges across the top. It is omnivorous. It is not vegetarian. It's big. It's a big fucking thing, and they have been known to attack and chomp on their riders, and it's a real test of masculinity on this planet. Is to ride these, and the locals, they race them. So there's a real sort of masculine kind of thing associated with riding these things.
I need to see Scratch riding a massive omnivorous Cordan horse. We need a repeat of the bike race.
We need to do a bike race session, but on these things. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's like a bike race, but instead of crashing into walls every turn, there's a chance your horse turns around and eats you.
or eats another rider as it goes past.
Yeah.
I'd rather not be masculine and drink my pear cider and watch you play.
Which town might you want to go into? Might you want to go into Ellerton or Tempekirk or somewhere a bit less hot?
I think Ellerton, I think, is particularly hot. You know, there's been lynchings and attacks and stuff. I think Tempekirk could be a relatively good one.
It's been a bit of action on the ground there with Baron Ferro's troops going in and being kicked out.
Which, I mean, that might make it a good opportunity for us to get some informants, like Raytar was saying, because they're on the coalface. Whereas
they're more loyal to Baron Halley.
Than Ellerton are. That's true. Because I was thinking like Midyard, Sharpsfell, Indus, what they've seen is the bad end of rocket barrages, but they've not necessarily seen troops in the streets. Yeah. So maybe Ellerton actually is the place to go.
Or Kesslerton or Iron Hill, they're within the territory of Baron Halley. They've not seen much action because they're well behind the border.
Yeah. I mean, I think Ellerton's the place that's in Halley territory, but loyal, or, you know, historically loyal to Ferro. That's the place where we're going to get the most interesting informants on both sides, you know, people who are operating under one allegiance, but perhaps historically or familially sort of related to another.
There is potentially interesting to get informants from Castletron, so they would inform us if the war kind of goes beyond the Ellerton and Tempekirk. You know, they would warn us if there's any action is being
more loyal informants that way.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would worry about with Kesslerton is if any troops in Kesslerton are likely to be potentially out of the chain of command because they're not sort of in the front lines, are they? Whereas the Ellerton boys are going to know if someone's going over the top.
Yeah.
But Ellerton comes with its downside. You know, Ellerton's a hotter, riskier situation, and we know how we handle those.
But life goes on, doesn't it? In hot situations, people still go to work.
Yeah.
Go to the pub, do their shopping, try and live their lives.
We can think about it later on.
Well, no, because we're going to do it now. We're going to go there now. Tell me where you want it. Yeah, we're going to roll this. We're going to roll with this to this evening, if that's okay. But obviously, you don't have to.
You're really hot, aren't you?
I am hot. Oh, she's hot. Is it not well? She's not so well. Are you okay, Rob?
Yeah, sorry, buddy. I'm back.
Yeah, okay. So where do you want to go? I'm going to go across my screen as I see you. So Scratch, where would you want to go if you were going to go into a town there?
I still think Ellerton is our best bet to get in because they're the ones that have seen the most agitation. So we may be able to get at least if we're looking to get people on the inside information to give us like a network of info, I think Ellerton might be our best bet.
Okay. 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 And what about you, Dax?
I completely agree. I think Ellerton's got it's the most volatile and it's got the most interesting mix of allegiances. From Dax's point of view, he would rather go to Ellerton than anywhere else because it's more likely to be interesting. Okay. You know, it's not going to be straightforward. He just wants to see the shit. Well, you know, we stirred this.
Some people just want to watch the world burn, don't they?
The size of a tangerine. Yeah, I think I want to see what we've wrought on the ground. You know, we started some of this. Let's see how bad it is.
What about yourself, Bill?
Bill's just sort of there. He's got like a toothpick just in the side of his mouth, and he's just like watching all the conversation go on. He's just like, "Yeah, sounds good."
Secretly, Dax also he thinks this idea of Raytars is a really good idea, but he likes to see Raytar just slightly out of his comfort zone, and he wants to take him into the hot streets and show him how we do it.
A little bit of a wind up.
Raytar is cowardly. Raytar is cowardly, like looking at them like, oh, fucking pirates. Let's go.
Fucking pirates.
There's Ellerton from the air. Ellerton from the air. Ellerton on the river. You've got this crook of the river, and you've got the bulk of the town on the south bank and a little bit on the north bank and these mountainous regions. Vast expanse of rough mountainous terrain, riverside kind of settlement. And where's it going to take us into the town? How would you approach? I guess you'd kind of land in a grav vehicle somewhere and kind of walk in, would you? Or do you want to land in the middle of it?
Well, if we're landing in the middle, we want to take the old air raft, not the grav vehicle we stole from Baron Halley. Or we could land the coup slightly further south, and we could drive in, say in either the ATV or some of the cycles.
Yep. ATV is not too.
It's not too
out of place.
It's not too agro-military, is it?
You've got that. You've got that thingy as well, haven't you? That hire car, the Hilux that you hired. Do you remember that?
You still got that.
You still got that.
Oh, in which case, yeah, let's land a little bit south in the coup and just drive in the Hilux that we hired at the airport and then got shot up.
Where's the Hilux? Let's have a look. Do.
We must owe a fortune on that hire car.
Oh, it is smashed up.
Yeah, well, it's a hard life out in Ellerton. You know, we were attacked by an aggressive horse.
You certainly look quite inconspicuous, relatively inconspicuous, wouldn't you?
I think we turn up in that. Dax is going to have the bone pistol in his concealed holster and his stealth knives, no other weapons.
Okay.
So
anyone taking any big weapons, or are you all going to go fairly low key?
Presumably, it wouldn't be completely out of character for some people to be armed in these territories.
It's frontier territory, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like armaments, people do carry weapons. Probably not big military weapons. Probably not
the grenade launcher.
Yeah, no. Grenade launchers. I'm not taking the sniper rifle because again, big
I've
scope.
just been hunting rabbits.
Yeah, yeah, it's for hunting deer and hordes and
Look,
hordes of
what have I got?
wild
Combat
boars.
rifle.
I'm going to let you decide what you want to take. I'm just going to go for a quick wee,
Cool.
and then let you have a little decide what you want to
I
take.
feel like Stratch would just have his big heavy revolver, right?
Yeah.
Just
Feels like that.
imagine he has it holstered up here.
Yeah, it feels like it's the sort of thing we walk in with like revolvers at your hip or whatever, isn't it? It's kind of...
Yeah, that's it. It's. I think I'm obviously I'll have the monkey knife because it's just a little concealed blade. I think the monoblade is just too out of place and way too high tech. But the body pistol is basically an organic pistol that gets through scanners really easily. So it does hardly any damage, but it's just a little stealth pistol made out of organic matter. It's a bit existence. It's like, I don't know if it is actually bone and flesh, but it's pretty grim. But I think a body pistol, I've got a couple of stealth daggers that are easy to conceal, and a might take one of the frag grenades. He's taking a frag grenade into a hostile situation, asking for trouble when we're just going to the bar. Maybe not. Maybe we'll leave that back. I'm going to take the body pistol, the monkey knife, and a couple of stealth daggers. That's me.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm just taking my heavy revolver.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes.
Same goes.
Heavy
What about you,
revolver and
Rita?
monkey knife.
I'm not taking any weapon with me.
No. Okay. So which way do you want to? I'm going to say it's 4 days, 3 or 4 days. Let's call it 4 days on, and you guys can be fully healed. So Scratch and Bill, you can fully heal your wounds. You've spent a few days in the coup. Let's remove some of these military.
Oh yeah, because that was pretty messed up.
So we're going to move those. They're gone. Where would you want to go in? I guess on day 4 here, things are still kicking off, but they've settled over to the bridge. No, actually, Ellerton reasonably fell, didn't it? It relatively fell. So it's been taken by the militia groups and reclaimed by local militia groups sympathetic to Baron Ferro.
Right.
So there are none of Halley's forces operating within, but there is evidence of bit of destruction. I'm going to show you the kind of main streets that you would be walking through as you approach in. It's got a bit of a rough kind of outer rim frontier settlement feel. The town itself is surrounded by craggy mountains and forested hills, and the buildings are a bit of a mishmash of styles and materials. You've got concrete and stone, some corrugated metal, even some wooden buildings, and some typical colonial prefabricated buildings. You've got power cables running across alleys in some areas, and it's definitely got this kind of rough and ready feel. The streets are a bit of a chaotic warren of squares and back alleys, markets and tech repair shops and street cafes. We've got the town hall. This would be a market. Kind of tarpaulins, unpaved roads, vendors selling fresh produce. Side streets tend to be a bit littered with bit of rubbish, and it's kind of stuff that people are finished with. You just sling it out the back. And then the sort of back streets might be a little bit more rough and ready with prefabricated buildings, and you've got these kind of cables that sort of run across. Where would you want to go? Oh, I'm just going to roll 3d6 to see what events. I've got a random event table here. You see.
Oh God!
I didn't want to.
Death.
See, if we hadn't gone into Ellerton, imagine all these wasted resources.
Okay. So as you're heading in, do you see driving in the Gecko?
In the Hilux?
No, in the Hilux, yeah. As you're driving in through So there's like a town square. And we'll say, if we look on the map, shall say that is which way are you going in? Tell me where you're going in.
Do I choose or
choose as a group?
Okay.
Choose as a group where you want to go in.
Yeah,
which
way?
way?
I think
if
we're going to get informants, we probably want to be around the sort of Hab district and Mercantile district rather than the High district.
So sort of coming in, kind of
coming in
roundabout
from the
there.
south.
Yeah, because
We're
I
coming
think
from the south, don't we?
yeah, if we sort of drop the coup like down south and then drive up in,
Yeah.
we know that during the initial battles, the industrial district had some of the sort of freedom fighters in it, ready to hold the bridge. So I think it's sort of the mercantile district. If we went in posing as, you know, on-world traders, and Ratar can be our representative as the sort of big head trader, and we're sort of his entourage, we could find ourselves a not too upscale, like mercantile pub to go and have a chat in.
So you're sort of driving in, and there's no street lights. It's fairly bit sort of chaotic. There's definitely signs of fighting. There's sort of bullet holes in the walls here and there, and signs of a few buildings that have been sort of destroyed. But life continues on. People have got to feed the kids, and people have got to put food on the tables and go to work. And as you're sort of heading in, looking for somewhere that looks kind of like a bar, perhaps, you come onto this square, which we'll probably say is kind of like here, maybe on the edge of the mercantile district, just as you're sort of driving in. And there's like there's a square there, and there's like a guy who is giving a speech. Let's just put a picture of him up. And he's stood on like a box, raising, he's got like a pamphlet in one hand, and he's got his fist in the air, and he's speaking very passionately about how Ellerton is well rid of Baron Halley and his parasitical regime, and that it's time for the people of Ellerton to stand up for themselves, and to wipe the scourge of Baron Halley's regime off the surface, and Baron Ferro should really support the current support and actually launch an all-out attack. He seems to be stirring the people up, and there's people gathering. There's a few bars around on that square, and maybe on the little side streets. You've got the Serenity Bar, you've got Le Horizon, you've got the Revolution Bar.
Ding, 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 ding.
Revolution Bar, yeah. And you can any of those you might sort of want to go into, or do you want to go and speak to the guy? There's a small crowd gathered around, kind of watching him, and some men and women look like farmer types, kind of working class types. Does anyone look at you? Is Scratch, are you in view? You are in view because you're in a truck.
Yeah, must be. Yeah, I assume I'm the big lad sat in the passenger seat at the front.
I guess no one's really noticed you because you're in the truck at the moment.
Okay.
Big pig.
So you're in this town square. There's this agitator, this demagogue, giving his passion speech. You guys are in the truck, just scoping out the bars and the restaurants that are along the side. There's a market there called Tasty Comet, and there's like a looks like a sort of deli called Wok and Roll.
Rater turns to the team and says, I hadn't planned 4 types of people I was interested to contact with. So one type would be a local politician, someone who would either be a potential future mayor or leader of the city, and having him befriended, or what's even better, pocketed, would be a great, that's much more than an informant. So, but any politician who has promises would be nice to have a contact with, potentially help him. Another type would be a media sort of manager, someone who would be responsible for high to medium position on a local TV show, someone who would be able to transfer the position which we are interested in into the masses. The third one would be the farmer, someone, the largest farmer we can try and reach out to, the one who is probably supplying local markets the most, so that we can actually keep track of what's the humanitarian situation in the city. If we, and the last one would be someone who's working in the hospital and tracking the situation with deaths and tracking the situation with people like losing parts of bodies. Those four types of people combined, like if we want to make a mayor someone, a farmer could get produce, they are probably starving, food prices have gone up. Getting a farmer to deliver food in the name of this politician gives him, political points. A media manager gives political points. And also because we have potentially access to a little bit of higher technology on the behalf of healthcare, we can't rise the dead, but if anyone who is fighting for
well, you say that.
Yeah.
Tech level 15 auto doc can reanimate the dead if they're not dead too long. You haven't got that, but you can buy them.
But if we put in his words of the politician, you fight, and if you lose an arm, you get a high-tech bio-arm, and that shows kind of what you can get on us. Those kind of things which would really turn the situation in our way if we ever want to go this route. So those are four types of people I had in mind.
Okay.
So what do you want to do, guys? What do you think about?
What do you want to do?
I would say I don't think we would approach the guy doing his street corner preach, because speaking to him, his mind is made up, right? As far as like his view, he is out there sharing it. And also, I think the people watching in those situations are there for two reasons. Just out of curiosity, like a morbid curiosity of the strangeness of the person, or equally fanatical in a certain direction. Whereas I think the people where you gather information are those that you can get in a quiet area that are willing to share that information. So I still think we need to go to a bar or a deli or somewhere like that to seek out information.
He's talking at the moment about how the power grid, the town's power grid, is malfunctioning in response to problems from the dam, the hydroelectric dam, and also some of the recent attacks in the town have disrupted the power grid, and a lot of the houses are without power, and that's a real problem for keeping food cold and for obvious reasons. So he's trying to sort of rally a little bit of agitation, and people are kind of watching, and some look a bit, nonplussed. Some are like, oh, and some are like, yeah, you're right. You've definitely got that sort of division of opinions.
I'm really sorry. Raitor this move and says, guys, one of the coup team, and it can be any of the NPC or players, could easily become a mayor of this town. We could actually politically capture the town.
You're not locals, are you, though?
Huh?
You're not locals, though, are you?
Well, with our resources and the information about what was happening with the dam, with the all intel and power we have, we could easily manipulate. Also, like if we even still have access to the military vehicle, and we could keep setting things up, there is so much potential where actually we don't need to rely on anyone and supporting anyone of any political activities. We could get someone from the NPC team to do that. That would be like a thing.
Do you want to go into the bar, go into one of the shops, or do you want to go and speak to the guy, the agitator?
Dax is very much taking a back seat on this. He's driving the Hilux.
Yeah, what I'm going to say is you're pulled up at the moment.
Yeah.
And the engine's you're sat there, the four of you in this truck. I can just picture the image now. You can sort of like the windows are down. You're looking at this guy and just deciding what to do.
So Dax is there's essentially this operation. He's taking very much a back seat. his decisions have been rather rash recently, and this is Raytar's operation. So he's along for the ride, and he wants to see what shits and giggles happen. He's kind of looking at this guy in his fancy half pirate outfit with his passionate attitude, and he's thinking, yeah, replacement for Goldtooth. I like him. I like him. He's great. He's outspoken. But we're early days. I agree with Scratch. I think at the moment we leave him, we move on, we try and make some of the contacts that Raytar's trying to make, because otherwise we just draw attention to ourselves, and we are new in town.
Okay, Bill. Then, what do you like? What I still don't really know where you want to go. Do you want to? Obviously, you don't want to go and stir it up too much at the moment. You want to sort of get a bit more recce of the situation.
So Raytar's talking about potentially politicians, media influencers. Are we better off towards the High District for that? Or if we go mercantile, could we get some good influencers? I don't know, I'll be led by sort of Raytar on this. Where he wants to go, I will point the truck. We're probably more likely to get quicker, easier interactions around the Hab District and the mercantile. High District, we might have to sort of know people to get in to speak to people. What do we think?
What do you think?
I think mercantile sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's the good middle ground. And I think we find maybe a relatively reputable bar in the mercantile district, something not too shabby.
Okay. So tell me the name of this bar then.
I mean,
Gossips.
It's called the Fat Wad of Cash.
Let's take you to Gossips Bar.
Oh, no token.
Can't see it.
Okay, that's because I have lighting.
That's because you've put up a combat map.
Can you see it now?
Oh, love the music.
All right.
That's brilliant.
Let's just turn that down a fraction. Okay, so you're in this bar. You're in Gossip's Bar. It's not a flash place, but it's not too shabby either. There's a few people. I've got like a thing here planned for this. I've got like an encounter kind of thing. Yeah, there's a few people sort of sat around. They're just sat at the bar, drinking. You're going to imagine the scene here as you sort of walk in. 3 humans and a pig, and perhaps as you walk in as well, people just kind of stand and gawp at you. As a group, they gawp at you. And they gawp at you, particularly Scratch. Can you all make recon rolls, please? Recon with intellect. It's a simple roll, so you'd have to beat a 6.
15-6. Effective tomb.
That's a 1. It's a 8. Fucking hell,
God.
Scratch. Yeah,
Scratch.
It's immediately obvious. Scratch, you've got like super eyes. It's immediately obvious there are no interstellar visitors here. It's very much a local town for local people.
Have they all got noses like mine?
No.
We'll have no trouble here.
Yeah, people just kind of like gawp at you as you sort of walk in, and the door opens. You walk into this kind of wooden bar, leather sofas, a few sort of stools, and there's a few people sat around, kind of drinking, and they sort of like just kind of look at you and double take, and they just kind of like look at you.
I would like, if you imagine when we walk in, it's our feet, the camera's low, and it's like a bit like a Western kind of bar.
Yeah. Nice.
And then my feet are at the back, and it's almost got that Spurs noise.
Shink.
Shink. Shink. Right, as we first step in. But then the camera picks up on small fragments. We don't know what they are. and then the camera goes up, and I'm actually eating some kind of chips or something, but it's at the pace of the feet. And so at first thinking it sounds like ka-ching, ka-ching, and it goes up, it's actually just as he's crunching his way through chips as we're going in.
Amazing.
Oh, brilliant. I'm going to show you the barman. Let's have a look. Where would he be? He would be here's the barman. You see him there?
Nice.
Oh, him.
Yeah, quite a fairly smartly dressed. Yeah, but Ian McShane. He's got like a tattoo on the side of his forehead there. Fairly neatly trimmed beard, and he just kind of looks at you. He doesn't smile. Hello.
My old age.
Don't get many of your sort here. Says in his shitty Russian accent.
Then it's going to be like, what do you mean our sort?
Foreigners. You're welcome though. If you've got cash to spend, you're welcome. And there's people who are just sat at the bar, they're just drinking, and they just kind of look at you. And they like, I always imagine there's like 3 of them in a line, and they're not speaking to each other, and they just all hold their drinks, and they just all look down the line
at the same time.
They all look at the same time, and he's like, "Get you a drink."
Is there like beer? Would it be a beer that you would?
They're all drinking beer.
Yeah. Okay. I think Scratch will just like slam down his big hammy fist with some creds in it, and just say, "Oh yeah, get some beers. I'll be over there." And then he'll make his way over to the leather sofa. Like he sees the comfy chair, he's claiming it, so he's put the money down to get the beers, but for everyone. But now he's going to go and sit down on the big sofa.
These 3 guys who are sat by the bar, they just seem to be drinking. They don't seem to be talking to each other very much, whether it's because they're a bit like, outsiders, strangers, foreigners, interstellar travelers. You're here. It's very unusual. This is a small colonial town. Don't get outsiders around here too much.
It's like when I came to Hayfield.
It's like I feel you. Yeah. People, and the barman pours you like he puts some pours some beers, puts them on the counter, and puts some shot glasses next to the beers and pours you some whiskey. Like you didn't ask for whiskey, you're fucking getting it. And he pours you some whiskey and says, "Yes, don't get many of your don't mind the rudeness. Don't get many of your guys around. Not get many travelers around here. What brings you to Ellerton? These are interesting times."
Dax will immediately perch himself on the bar next to one of the other guys, knock back the shot and start drinking his beer and just say, I kind of like this place. And then he'll nod to Ratar and just say, we're here with the boss. The big man calls the shots. We just turn up where he says and drink the beer he pays for.
And he looks at Scratch and then Bill.
Scratch.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. So he looks at Scratch as the big man, and then he looks at Bill as also a big guy. And Scratch, you're doing a great job of doing your
It's just, and as he looks over at him, he does a big old scratch on his belly himself, and then is clearly picking something out of his tusk, oblivious to what's going on, just waiting for someone to bring his beer over he's just paid for.
Let's say there's a few people, the 3 people sat by the bar, there's maybe a couple of people sort of sat around. Let's say there's this guy. Fairly smartly dressed.
Cheeky.
Like a unusual sort of hat. There's a guy sat at the very end of the bar. Looks a bit he's
good.
Yeah, he's got some sort of facial a lot of tattoos actually on his face. A bit scruffy haired, bit rougher. There's no women in this bar. And let's have this other guy. Let's put him in there as well.
Amazing.
So they're just sat there drinking. Fairly. Two of them are smart. One of them looks like a farmer kind of guy. And they're they just kind of go back. Are you going to say anything, or are you just going to let them go back to their chit chat? They've appraised you. The barman served you some drinks, and they're like, these are tough times to come to Ellerton. These are tough times. I probably shouldn't tarry here for too long.
Well, our Raitar turns to the bartender and says, "Yeah, it's tough time indeed, but let's make it a bit brighter." And he kind of puts 500 credits out of his pocket, which is a lot of money here.
500. It's like £500.
Yeah, I imagine that. And he says, "The most finest whiskey you have for those gentlemen, and you keep the change." I really want to break the ice there with some money and show that we are rich, because we are definitely outnumbering them. So
You're show off. You're gonna show off a bit.
A little bit.
And Dax is going to plonk himself down next to the farmer-looking guy, somebody who's on his sort of closer to his social standing, and probably closer to him in age. And as the bartender is potentially pouring this expensive whiskey that Raitar's ordered, Dax is just going to make sure he makes eye contact and nods and goes, "Yeah, I'll have one of them. If he's paying, I'll have one of them."
Yeah. He puts a bottle on the counter. That'll be 10 credits. And is that a 500 credit note you're pulling out?
I'm still going to pull a 500. Well, I already said that I'm pulling a 500 credit note. That's my fault. But I'm going to give it to him and say, "Make it 4 bottles then, and keep the change." So
that's bad trading. We could have bought 50 bottles for that and then sold them at a profit of 5 each.
He just kind of says, "I can't change that."
You keep the change. So it's like, yeah, that's the plan.
His eyes narrow, and he's like,
yeah. So I'd like every guy there to be happy with this drink they have. And I'd like to say, well, we have some business interests here. As you have noticed, we are foreigners, and we're looking for someone to discuss some interest of ours. And as you can see, we can pay. What are you guys doing? Like, what's your interest? What's your life like? Would you be interested to talk with us about something we might be interested in?
Okay, so we've got the 2 of them. The farmer just kind of like is like nonplussed. The two other guys, got the businessman. I'll just flash him up again.
Businessman.
The businessman. I'm going to give him a name. Let's have a look. So, which might mean that you lose the image, but I'll add it on. It is Nia Nudiska.
And he says, "Hi, my name is Nudiska," right? So
yes. He reaches over and he says, "Good hospitality. It's always appreciated in these parts, especially in these times. May I say I'm a businessman myself. I like to trade in grains and whiskies and beers, and hops is my sort of main thing. Don't recognize you. You look like from you're out of town." He sort of looks at your clothing. He says, You're not from here."
Well, we're all foreigners, and we don't have much time in this town. We need to have someone we can keep a contact with, and especially, it sounds interesting that you mentioned some of your business. You have had some troubles recently with that, right?
I almost want to say, "Oh, they." He said, "Oh, Oh, what troubles? And he spits on the ground. Baron Halley and his forces, his can't think of an insult. Give me an insult that's kind of like suitable. Baron Halley and his scum soldiers, Baron Halley and his police, they've been here, but we showed them, we showed them what's for, and we managed to give them a good hiding. They're not up to much when faced with good Ellerton men and good men of Baron Ferro's lands. And he turns to you, Billum, and he sort of takes a little look at you and he praises you, and he says, you look like you might have served.
I've served. I've been all over the galaxy whilst in my role, doing my duty. Yes, I've seen some action out there in the stars.
That's Postman in the West.
And what about your friend? I guess Scratch is at the back there. What about your friend there at the back? Like he definitely don't get many of his type round here. I'd as friends, I would you've had maybe a couple of drinks here at this point. I'd just the people of Cordan, the people in the north, can be used to other strange people. Just be a bit careful in certain areas. You're okay around here. Around here, very safe. All good people. In some of the hab areas, maybe poorer people. Just be a little bit careful. And you're sort of chit-chatting. We won't sort of role-play every little conversation here, role-play every sort of line, but like, give me the gist of what you want to be saying to this guy here.
So I want to be saying that we are really interested in peace. In peace that he is so much, he was fed up with war and his business has been affected. You say, whoa, that's really nice. Our interests are very much aligned. We are here to...
Well, war is bad. War is bad for everyone. War is bad for everyone. No one makes money in this kind of situation. The sooner that, and he spits on the floor again, the sooner that Baron Halley and his men are roundly given the kicking they deserve, the better. And then the farmer leans in. And the farmer's name is Naka. Let's just put him on here so I can remember. Nakha. He's called Naka Belag. Well, let's just show you the farmer again. There's Naka. And he sort of leans in, he says, filthy pervert, Harley, isn't it? Everyone knows he's a filthy pervert. It's deviant.
Daxel, I mean, we've been here a little while, but Dax will make sure that obviously he's taken beers over to Scratch where he is in the corner. And he's going to have sort of half-inched one of the bottles of whiskey in a glass and just popped it on the table in front of Scratch, because his plan is to sit in the back corner with him, just cause no trouble, just watch the situation. But he's perhaps sitting in the back corner with Scratch, just sharing the whiskey and listening. And when the guy says this, he'll walk back up to the bar with the bottle of whiskey and just top up Naka's glass and just say, pervert, you say? We don't hold much truck with that kind of thing. What kind of perversions is he rumored to have?
Well, he trucks with foreigners. Not like your good selves, of course. I mean, he's nothing like the good Baron Ferro. I mean, everyone knows he's an honourable man who looks after his people. But Halley, I mean, he spits on the ground again. This ground is getting pretty shitty now.
We're about ankle deep.
We're about ankle deep in sputum. Everyone knows he's a pervert. He can't be trusted. He trucks with foreigners, and you can't trust these alien people. They don't value the true soil of Cordan or venerate the ancestors, and they don't drink. I mean, who can trust a man who doesn't drink? What's wrong with them?
Dax will just raise his glass and just knock it back and say, I couldn't agree with you more. Another round in here. And he'll say, we've been trading in Cordanian pairs for, probably 20 years now. It's our main business. We're in love with the planet of Cordan. I'd hate to see this place suffer. What kind of filthy outsiders is this Baron rumored to be in with? I don't like the idea of instability down here. It's my second favorite planet in the galaxy.
Well, I mean, like, it was all, he keeps himself to himself these days. He's not like his father. His father was a good man, but things used to be really good round here. And you can see the shit we're in. Look at the shit we're in here.
Aye, the floors are filthy.
The floors are filthy. Like, it used to be good round here. The current Baron, his family have ruled for generations, but he's not like his father, and he's certainly not the man that Baron Ferro was. I mean, who is? Who amongst us is? He's a good and honest man. Like a few years ago, the Baron Halley started meeting with foreigners, and they came, and don't see much of him these days. He doesn't talk to the people. He's locked himself up in his chateau or his castle, whatever he calls it, and it's just times have become harder since.
Dax will just say that's no way to run a barony, and he'll spit on the floor with great gusto. It's like, I say, fuck Halley. Sounds like a prick.
He is a prick. He's a right fucking prick.
And he'll let Raytar take command of the situation as he takes another beer and another whiskey over to Scratch and sits back in the corner.
You see, the Raytar, don't mind me calling you Raytar. Like, the barons around here have ruled for thousands of years. They're descended from the earliest colonists, and they're proud. We people are proud. We're proud people. But this Baron, he's reclusive. He doesn't help the people. He doesn't support the people. He just stays locked. I mean, how's he going to marry? How's he going to marry if he stays locked in his castle all day? I mean, like, it's not right. It's not normal.
I see. That's genius. I like it so much.
You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying there, Andy?
Drinking his pear cider.
Yes, I do a person. Can totally relate.
Yes,
but,
one thing you should never do with Cordanian pears is make alcohol from them. Everyone knows that people who drink Cordanian pear cider are perverts.
You backstory now. So I'd like to kind of ask, like, I'm going to stomp my knuckles. I'm going to stomp my knuckles against the table and shout. So why don't you claim the independence then? You said yourself, your previous Baron was a nice guy. This one is not, and living under the barons and relying on their child to be better than their father. Seems like Galaxy has moved on from that, guys. Why haven't you, as a town, you can claim independence? Why wouldn't you do
it? They all sort of look at each other and like, look at this, listen to this guy. Like, what do you know? What do you know? This is the way it's always been. This is the way it is.
Well, I'm going to pull out my phone and say, well, you better watch. And I'm going to kind of briefly show images of other planets. And
we know. We're not. We might be poor. But we know there are other planets. We know. Do we care? We don't care.
Like, you guys haven't been to Pornhub. It's amazing.
Yeah, we don't care about those places. What matters to us is this place, these people, the soil that we live on. We live on the land, and we venerate the ancestors. Let's just roll a little dice here.
Now I want him to start a revolt and claim independence.
I love the idea of this campaign just ends as running one small town forever. We're like, yeah, we're having it.
and like squeezing it for profits.
Yeah. just enough to live off the land.
That's
I did when you put that 500 on the bar, and he was like, the most expensive bottle of whiskey in here is $10, 10 credits. I was thinking, I've got 60 grand in my pocket. I wonder if I could buy this place. I like it. The ambience is good. Maybe I'll just buy the bar from him, and it'll be my next asset.
People are coming in. There's more people coming in.
Oh, nice.
There's a few more people coming in. Starting to fill up a bit, actually. Starting to fill up a bit. You guys are still talking by the bar. What's your crux of your conversation here then, Raytar? We don't have to role play every line here, but what's your crux of the conversation is that you want to kind of get the people to kind of.
I want to see if there is enough motivation in local people's heart to mutiny against barons in general, to kind of a city, to make it a city state rather than a baron state.
Okay. So
proud of their local land.
They seem to be quite have a strong emotional attachment to Baron Ferro of the South. There doesn't seem to be a feeling for like, oh, we want to go on our own. You know, Baron Ferro is a just man. He's a good man. Actually, there's more people coming in now. There's a few more people. Something's going on here, isn't it? Something's happening here this evening. And you guys are going to be involved. Okay,
Damn
so
right we are.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's a Baron Ferro is a good person. He looks after his people. He helps. You know, from his table, he casts the benefits of his rule, of his just and honest rule. It's a natural thing. We know about your other planets. You know what you can do with those other planets? You can shove them up your arse. You know, we don't care. They don't have. Just look around. Look at the countryside. Look at this beautiful country. Do you want to know what's going on here this evening?
Yes, we do. Tell me it's a local band.
It's a karaoke night.
Yes. I want to do a media performance in the style of a hermaphrodite.
There's a group of people coming in, and people are starting to they bring in like a jukebox type thing. And people are starting to sing in rather awful notes.
Amazing.
I'm going to show you this lady. The goggles on.
Oh my god!
Yes, she's an old lady. She opens it up, and she's already looks 2 sheets to the wind, and she starts singing, and it's a kind of like some kind of folk. It's some kind of like folk track. You've never heard of it. Does anyone want to stand up and do a song?
You're damn right. Dax is lubed.
Raytar does.
Yeah. We will all push Raytar and peer pressure him until he does a song.
And also, so what's going to happen is performance is a skill. Has anyone got performance?
If it's karaoke night, I think it works in our favor if we don't have it. However, I do not.
Oh, it's art, isn't it? It's art. It's a skill, yeah.
I've got jack of all trades. I can totally nail a karaoke track.
Okay. So yeah, it's art is a skill, art performance or art singer. Has anyone? No one's got art, so you're just going to do it as a jack of all trades. So what I'm going to say is, you can. I'm going to give, if you make this art roll, this unskilled skill roll, using intellect or education as a modifier, you're going to use that as a task chain for someone to make a streetwise roll to try and get a bit more info to make yourself more popular.
So what I would say is that mechanically, Dax has streetwise, and he's got jack of all trades at 1, so he would make a relatively good streetwise roll. However, from a game point of view, Dax is checked out on this. This is Raytar's gig. Dax sort of sees Raytar as like this, almost like an adopted son. Like, he picked this guy up from a closet, dressed as a janitor. He wasn't really sure why he was doing it, and already he's turning a profit, and he's showing Dax that he has value, despite the fact that when we got into combat, he set off a fire extinguisher in his own face twice in 2 rounds. And he's just in love with the guy. So he wants to let him run with this because whichever way it goes, it's going to be hilarious. So all Dax is doing is sitting in the corner with Scratch and drinking far too much. He's not even interested in a fight or if it kicks off, Dax might even just slope out the back. But as soon as the karaoke machine's out, he's like, you know what? I'm on a night off. This is great. And he's going to volunteer for some karaoke.
Who's going to volunteer for karaoke? Dax?
Yep.
Okay.
He's not influencing the conversation, so I don't think he can make a streetwise roll.
Dax, I want you to... No, actually, Rob, I want you to sing for us.
I knew you were going to do it. I've got to do it in the accent. Oh, man. And now I have to know, like, Traveller tunes.
No, choose a song. Choose a song. Anything you know.
So actually, no. Dax is... I'm going to write the canon of this. So it's a typical karaoke night, and so far people have got up and they've sung like popular chart hits. They've been sort of poppy songs, they've been catchy songs, they might be local tunes, they might even be a bit folky, stuff that the regulars know. Like this night obviously happens quite often.
Yeah.
Dax is well into the sort of outer rim metal scene. Was it Pandora's Box with the band that he's quite a fan of? He's really keen to catch Pandora's Box gig. Maybe a little bit revolutionary for this crowd, but he's going to stand up and he's going to scream out a Pandora's Box number.
Okay.
It's like the best of Axl Rose in his prime. It's very, very high pitched. And
are you willing? If you do this for me now, I will give you a boon on your roll if you do a really good impression of it.
Right. So if I was to do, this could be absolutely terrible, but I'm never say never. So if I was going to do like Welcome to the Jungle in Dax's accent, this is going to take so much mental concentration. I'm not even sure I can do this. Right. So he stands up, he grabs the mic, and he's like, have you got this? Have you got this? And they're like, no, what on earth is that? He's like, just come here. And he pops like a memory stick into the machine. He's like, you're going to fucking love this. He stands up and there's just suddenly this noise is pumping out. It's completely at odds with everything else that's played this evening. And it's an equivalent to like a thrash Guns N' Roses sort of early 80s Appetite for Destruction classic. And it's terrible. He's so not in tune. He's almost like almost like William Shatner sort of spoken word rapping to it. There's no inflection apart from the screamy bits where he screams.
And are you willing to sing it? He's
doing a sort of welcome to the jungle, we got fun and games. and oh god, I can't even do it.
It's okay. I'm going to give you a roll. So make an unskilled roll.
I thought that was awesome though, Rob, and I can actually see Dax sort of doing it and kind of like walking around. Welcome to the jungle.
And it's all physical energy, and he can't remember the words, and he's it's brilliant.
Styling it out, just styling it.
So give me an unskilled skill roll.
He's like his big old foot. He's banging it, so he's like booming.
There's bits of sandwich falling out of his mouth.
Amazing.
Right, unskilled skill, average with intelligence. You say
probably intelligence. Yeah, probably intelligence. Probably.
Just Bill's just doing a little bit of subtle air guitar in the corner, just like almost like on his own, like no one's watching, but he's just doing guitaring.
It could do with a charisma roll, Traveller. Charisma stat, really, but never mind.
I think Rater, but by that point he loves Guns N' Roses. He has been on a holographic concert of Guns N' Roses. Obviously, like they're all dead. Yeah. Yeah, it was a holographic concert, and he just instantly gets extremely drunk, extremely fast, and not from a parasider. And he like just now he doesn't care about all the planning and like trading. And like I like this guy who is much older, and it's obviously very inappropriate. And like, what do you know about trading? You know nothing about just started finance. It's life is in money. How don't you get it? Radar is just turning in a sub-intelligent form of how to put it, almost like he drank too much and just that's it. It's gone. It's not coming back until next day.
Okay, so make your roll, Dax.
Right. So am I doing normal or boon?
I'm going to give you a boon for attempting a couple of lines.
The two terrible lines that I did. Thing is, I could have done that all day in my own voice. It's so hard to do in Dax's voice. Right, here we go. Unskilled skill.
Whoa!
Effect of 2, baby. That's triple sixes.
What?
Smashed it. You absolutely smashed
He's
it.
grabbing his crotch. He's rolling around the stage. He's screaming into the mic.
With that roll, he's grabbing other people's crotches. Yeah.
You've never seen him come alive like this, and he comes alive quite easily.
You've got this audience in the palm of your hand. They've never had Interstellar Travelers. Like, you're playing music they've never heard, but there's a few young people here, and they fucking love it. Like, you've started something here.
I feel like Vitae.
You are playing
I'm the Bard of Traveller.
Channeled the spirit of Vitae. We've got a bit of metagaming here. You've got the crowd now, and after you finish your song, people are like, "Hey, more!" And they're clapping you on the back. You've become welcomed by the. What do we call the bar? What do we call the bar?
Gossip.
The gossip bar. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you've become welcomed by the people of Gossip Bar of the gossip, and
So good.
I'm going to let you make another roll with a plus. What did we say? An effect of 2 gets. Is that a +2?
That +1 or a +2?
Is that a +1 task chain? It's a +2.
Right.
Okay. So you can make a streetwise roll. As you're having some drinks by the bar now, and what you thinking of this scene, Bill?
Well, Bill's just been playing his air guitar while the music's been playing. What's happening at the end of the music? Are we? What's
someone else comes up? Someone else comes up, and there's someone else doing their bit. Do you want to do a performance, Bill?
Bill's not feeling it, to be honest. He's like, kind of like, I'm. Bill sort of sits back and he just looks around the bar and sort of says to the guys, like, what do we want to achieve with these guys here? Do we want to? I'm trying to think what he would actually say that's actually a bit more in character. Basically, what do we want to kind of get? Do we want to try and stir up any trouble here, or do we want to just keep our heads down?
Yeah,
he's sort of getting a bit angsty, a bit kind of like anxious. Sort of, you can see he's tapping his finger on the table.
What is happening here? We're drinking, we're having a laugh, but what are we doing? Dax, can you make a streetwise roll? In fact, all of you can make streetwise rolls. Actually, you can
right
make
with
rolls.
A +2.
Dax gets a +2.
Right.
No one else
sort of
does.
add a bit of context. It's just like Bill's getting a bit nervous. He's sort of like looking over his shoulder because he's conscious that we've been in firefights around here, and it's kind of, it's not that we're outsiders. We've been here for a little while now. We've had a few drinks. We've thrown some big money around. Kind of like, I don't know. He's just feeling a bit nervous. It's one of those situations where it can go bad. So that's just a bit of the context.
Dax will sort of pick up on that energy and just sort of slap Raytar on the shoulder quite hard and just go with, time to sober up, buddy boy. You wanted information. You need to find your contacts here. I did my bit, and whatever the fuck you do, I'm going back. I'm doing another number. These guys fucking love me here.
I think Raytar is already being pretty wasted. And he's like, Bill, that's a good question. Great question, Bill. And I just hang back, like I'm just bam, like on the shoulder, and like, Bill, I'm telling you what we are doing here. We are buying this bar. Am I right,
You know what we should do, guys? We should buy a bar together.
Right, make your streetwise rolls, please. Because we give you some juice, and then you're also going to make.
Oh God!
Dax with all his bonuses got.
Is that?
I got an effect of. I got an effect of -3.
Would I use Jack of all trades? Because I've got that. Does that turn unskilled skill to -2?
A -2.
Yeah. And then what modifier do we put for?
Probably
that?
intellect. But I'm going to give you
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to give you a Bane scratch because you're not human. It's going to be
So
hard.
what does that mean?
It will mean you roll 3d6 and it will take the best. It'll take the worst 2.
So where do I apply that?
On your skill.
Oh, type.
Yeah, it will say
Bane,
Bane
got
or
it.
Boon. You're going to get a
Got
Bane
it.
because you're not
Okay,
human.
here we go then. Perfect.
So Dax rolled Snake Eyes. So even with my +3 from my Streetwise skill and my +2 for my skill chain, my Streetwise roll is an effective -3. And the reason for that is Dax does not give a shit about the plan. He does not give a shit about what Raytar's. That's on Raytar. Raytar can deal with that. He's just interested in when he gets to go back up and do another set. He's done.
So luckily, Raytar passed his Streetwise roll, and while the rest of you is Bill's getting a bit antsy, Scratch is struggling to get into any real deep conversation. People are polite to you, but they don't really engage with the conversation because they're a bit don't see it. No one's ever seen a hyper pig before, and Dax is having too much of a good time. Raytar, you do get a little bit of juice from the people as you're chit chatting about money to be made and trade and whatnot. It seems that the Baron now, where is it now? Yeah, a few years ago, about 5 years ago, a couple of odd off-world visitors arrived and began working for the Baron. Now, you can't trust these alien people because they don't venerate the true soil of Cordan, they don't venerate the ancestors, and these alien visitors, they don't drink. No one delivers beer or wine up to the castle anymore. Like who can trust that? Now, up until these visitors arrived, interstellar goods, well, not exactly plentiful, they were available in the region, but most of it since then seems to end up in the hands of Baron Halley himself, of what does come in, and very little of it actually reaches the people. He's not to be trusted. He's not to be trusted. And obviously, like, watch out for that Baroness Lux as well. She comes from a family of treacherous Southerners. Like, no one can trust them. What you're getting is these people are fairly xenophobic. They are not used to outsiders. Bit of a monoculture. They don't see outsiders, and they identify strongly with their group, with their sort of group. It's coming up to 5 to 11, guys, so I'm conscious that we should probably be sort of wrapping it up. Just tell me what you wanted to achieve. Obviously, Dax is too busy having a drink and having a good time.
So Dax, while we're in the background, Raytar's learning this useful information from the crowd, and Dax has picked up a bit of it, but he's got the wrong end of the stick. He doesn't care about where it goes in terms of our mission. And so he's managed to grab the mic again, and he's doing some kind of wailing solo. And in the background, as it gets to like a guitar break, he just sort of goes, "Venerate the Cordan gods. When I say Cordan, you say gods. Cordan,
gods."
He's sticking the mic out to the audience. He's just down with the crowd. But yeah, this one's on Raytar, boy.
Raytar, what is it you wanted to achieve? You wanted to try and make some connections about. You wanted to see if there was a possibility to get the town to move.
Yeah.
That looks very unlikely to be possible.
10-second summary. I think I have established a connection with a merchant who seems to be dealing with food goods in general and alcohol, and that's potentially something useful. I would like to have this contact in case I want to get any alcohol or food delivered within the planet to another group of people, maybe like a peace offering treaty, a gift, anonymous gift, or something like that. So that could potentially play at some point. There's another thing I learned is that locals are starving for interstellar goods. So the fact that Baron Halley is not giving out any more of that, we could bring some and sell them, and that's potentially a small business opportunity. Also turning to a group and saying we could, find out what those foreigners are doing here. We are almost like Cordanese, and like Dax is singing, and I'm completely wasted, and Scratch is almost Cordanese as well there. Like, we could really find out what those other people are doing, because
So
I think
they're at the castle.
That's the critical thing here. Is he's acquired high-tech weapons platforms, high-tech gun installations, and there was a rumor he was dealing with off-worlders. It's sort of been confirmed, and it's the people on the planet don't like it, but it's also changed his behavior. So something's going on with Hallie that I think, whether we take Baroness Lux's sort of mission as complete or not, I think investigating Hallie could be a bit of fun.
So that's what I want to get at, is what you want to do next week. We'll fast forward the scene. What I'd like to do before we finish is I want you to all make endurance rolls to see who passes out.
Oh, right.
Or makes a disgrace of themselves. Not disgrace, but basically passes out.
I can tell you who's that. So just an average endurance roll.
Average endurance roll.
Yep, Dax's liver gives out at -3.
Bill's Frost. Is he?
I think it's a surprise.
Raytar heroically.
Raytar holds it together because he's thinking, business opportunities. He's watching his drink, is Raytar. The rest of you all get absolutely fucking slaughtered. And just
I like the idea with a -3 and a -4. The night ends with Dax and Scratch doing like some really romantic duet, arm in arm, with like chips in their hand each, and the place is clearing out because it's just vile. Nobody wants to see it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like one of those classic. What's the classic duets with? Is it like Sonny and Cher or something like that?
Babe.
Don't go breaking my heart.
Yes.
I got you, pig.
That could be the final scene. As we close the session tonight, we could imagine that everyone's vacated. There's just someone. There's the barman just sweeping up, and you've got Raytar, you've got like Scratch, Dax, and Bill. Like they're giving it. It's up to you, New York. New York, and Raytar's still at the bar with his notebook, making connections.
The three of us are all
occasionally just glancing over his shoulder, going.
And I think as I make my final notes, already pretty wasted, I'm like looking at them a little bit surprised. I'm like, you can't get drunk from beer, and just keep on writing.
I like Bill, Scratch, and Dax are all sitting in a line on the floor, just going. We are sailing.
It was a good night out.
Okay. So, in anticipation of next week, do you want to wait to see how things go, talk to the Baroness, or do you want to initiate something soon and go and visit the Baron?
I think personally, we want to try and wrap up the Baroness mission now we're all healthy, livers aside, and because there was the promise of the manor and stuff. If we can get her as a potential ally for Oleb and Drinax, and we can have a home base on Cordan, that gives us a bit of space then to investigate Hallie and so on. But I think we haven't finished off a mission in quite we've been on Cordan a long time. So I think if we can speak to her and wrap this up. Plus, I really want to see Raytar try and flirt with her again because it was disastrous last time.
I was setting expectations low so I can hit hard.
That's easily done. So what we'll do is next week we'll wrap up the scene. Excuse me, a bit of a cold. We'll wrap up the. Well, I guess we'll probably wrap up the session on Cordan. But then, if you want to go and visit the Baron, we'll start the session next week with the you're going to take possession of the manor, of the villa, of the Baroness's villa next week, and I've
home
done
base of operations for our two enterprises, piracy and trade.
Yes, because what I'll say is you've had some communications from the Baroness at this point, and she's basically saying mission achieved. Mission achieved. Come home. come home. And basically what happens after that, during that time, you've had about a week of tit-for-tat violence, and the Baroness steps in and offers to mediate between the two parties.
I see.
Baron Lux and Baron Ferro, and basically try to bring this conflict to a peace. The map of the border region has been withdrawn, and things settle down to a bit of an uneasy peace. Ellerton becomes part of Baron Ferro's estate, and it's a situation that he claims rights a historic wrong, as the town was previously in the fief of his great-grandfather. Baron Ferro also requests help from the Imperium and from Baroness to help repair the turbines at the dam, which will take several weeks and will cost us a considerable amount of money. And the Baroness gratefully obliges, and that cements a bond and places Baron Ferro somewhat in her. It creates a sort of feeling of like there's a bit of a obligation now, because now she's helped him out. The downport in the northern region is going to be closed for several weeks until power can be restored, which leads to a problem with grain shipments, and that resulting loss of confidence at the high port leads the traders at the high port to refocus their attention to the fief of Baroness Lux, boosting exports from the south and from your estate. And Baroness Lux is credited with bringing peace to the region and of being the voice of reason.
We've also.
Yes, she has become the de facto head of state of Cordan, and she is delighted with the situation.
All right, Raytar, you might have a chance. We did this.
Yeah. I could actually, because it will only take a moment. Do you want me to show you the prize?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. I mean, we changed political boundaries in this operation.
Change political boundaries. So there's the landscape of the region you're in. I want you to imagine a sort of Mediterranean landscape. The Baroness's palace is not too far away. So there's a high port, there's a starport there. Not massive facilities, but that is close by. There is the villa. We're going to call it a villa because it's more of a villa than a manor. On the side of a lake, and there is a map. There's the map, the villa plus its environs. It's on this bit of an archipelago. Now, Dan, if you have a little look at that villa, do you recognize that villa? I didn't quite realize when I chose the image about a year and a half ago what that villa was from.
I mean, it looks very similar to where they shot Naboo, but I don't know if it is that or not.
It's from the clones. It's where
they get married.
Where they get married.
Yeah.
That's the place where they got married. Yeah, I didn't realize until recently.
It's a complete map of Dan's estate in Ely. I mean, that's, the ground is spot on. There are
that's the
buildings.
west wing. That's the west.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the whole thing,
the
obviously.
Outhouse.
That would be gross. That's the servants' quarters.
Yeah, the boathouse on the headland. You should see the actual house on the main bit of the island. It's,
the Isle of Ely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I own the whole thing.
You've got some vineyards.
That's right, it's mine.
So what you're saying is, we give up on piracy, we become wine traders.
Well, it's not a massive estate. But you've got some vineyards with its own winery.
I have to go, guys. I'm getting a shout. I've got to go, so I've got to wrap.
That's it. It's got its own winery, and that is it. That is the end of the session.
Well done,
we have finished. You've got the prize, and we can decide what you want to do next week. That is the end. Night.
Great. Thanks, Mike.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, guys.
Later.
Night.
Amazing stuff.
All right.
Take care.